Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Commander's Forge. My name is Andy Bentley, and the Forge is there for me to talk about magic, Commander, and anything I want to help bring this whole mental health thing back to where it's supposed to be. Now, I haven't been around for a couple of weeks, mostly because I could not sit and talk for more than 45 seconds without hacking up a lung. So, yeah, that's where I've been the last couple of weeks. It's good to be back. And honestly, I haven't done a whole lot with Magic in the last couple of weeks because of that. But I have been working on something else. For the first time since before the pandemic. So, you know, 6, 7 years, I am running a D&D game for 6 friends. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm really freaking stoked. I have not touched my D&D world quite literally since 2020. Because I have it saved in my Google Drive, and I was opening files I haven't touched since 2020, and I was just like, wow. So yeah, instead of doing what I've been doing, brewing decks, I've actually been updating, not necessarily in real time, but what's been going on in my world in the time that I haven't been there. And, working with my players to fit their backstories into narratives in my world and, you know, places in my world. And, man, even the way I DM is more on the we can kind of go anywhere with the story instead of me having the breakdown of points of oh well, they're gonna go here, they're gonna go here, they're gonna go here. It's more I give them the option to go there, but if they don't want to go there, that's fine. I have other places they can go. And I had my first we had our session 0 a couple of weeks ago, which went way too long, but I was trying to teach 3.5 new players how to build characters and play D&D. And we did our first session this last Friday, and 2 of them couldn't make it because they were having an issue with their water heater, but we still ran. We're just going to pop them in later. And I had so much freaking fun. I've got monster books that fall outside of the normal monsters that you see in D&D from Kobold Press. And I just going through them, I was like, "Oh, this seems like a fun little thread to throw them." And then I can start peppering in more of them in other places to kind of lead them in a direction. And currently I'm doing that with golems. Lots and lots of golems. So in that first session, they ended up fighting a glass golem and 2 paper golems, which I felt was a good mix for 4 first level characters. And I was right. It was a good combat. No one was really in that much danger. And by the end of the night, I don't think anybody wasn't smiling. We we had just a lot of fun, It was a very well needed return to something we had before the pandemic, which was, even though we're doing it slightly different from then, because back then when everybody's schedule was so mismatched in our group, we would only get together once a month. And so what we would do is instead block out a whole day and do what would essentially be a marathon of 2 to 3 sessions, 4 hours each. And we'd play D&D for like 12 hours with breaks in between. We're not that young anymore. So the going plan right now is we all work together currently. And that means every other Friday we all work together. And so the plan is meet at my cousin's apartment after work every other Friday. And so far that's working. We'll see how long that lasts. But even if it turns into like not having everybody every week, I understand running for 6 people can be a rough ride. That said, I think I can do it. It's been a long time. But I really think I can do it. And I'm more excited about that than I have been for any Magic set release in like the last year or whenever it was that Final Fantasy released. And that realization took me a minute to kind of sit with, you know what I mean? But I do still like Magic and play Magic and have some things I want to talk about. So I'm going to take a quick break here. And then when I come back, I will talk about something I have been working on putting together over the last 3 or 4 weeks, gathering stuff for. So yeah, I'll be right back. All right, and welcome back to the Thunderdome. Now, what do I mean by that? Is I had a mono red Alexios, whatever it is from Assassin's Creed deck, and it was fine. It played like a bad splicer or slicer, whatever that card is, and I got kind of bored of it. So I was like, you know what? Let's turn back to the roots of mono red. And no, I'm not talking about burn. So I wanted something that's just gonna be like for those quick games at the end of the night where it's just like, oh yeah, let's just turn creatures sideways. And I kind of struggled with who I wanted to be the commander for that deck for a long time. And eventually, where I got the idea from was actually from an enchantment. It was the, I forget the name of it, but it just gives all your attacking creatures double strike. And I was like, that's a novel idea, but I want that on the commander. And the Ninja Turtle set kind of gave me that with Raphael the Night Watcher. It's 2 red for a 2/3 mutant Ninja Turtle. It has Sneak for 1 red. And it says, attacking creatures you control have double strike. And that's, that's kind of the card. That's kind of what we want to do. We just want to play Raphael and start swinging creatures. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about 2 other high contenders for this deck before Raphael came out and just did exactly what I wanted it to do. The first one was Vincent, Vengeful Atoner, which is 2 and a red for a 3/3 assassin with Menace, and whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on Vincent. And then it has Chaos, which is an ability that says whenever it deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to each other opponent if its power is 7 or greater. Well, good on its own, you can kind of see where this piggybacks really well off Raphael, because as long as you're hitting all 3 players, you would put 3 counters on Vincent. But now if you hit all 3 players and your creatures have double strike, you're putting 6 counters on Vincent, immediately turning it into a 9/9. So yeah. Now the other one that was high on the list is the Red Terror, which is 3 and a red for a 4/3 Tyrannid from the Warhammer 40k decks, and it has an ability Advanced Species. Whenever a red source you control deal damage to one or more permanents and or players, put a counter on the Red Terror. So this one, not quite as good as Vincent in the hitting multiple players or permanents, does only put the one counter on it. But that said, he doesn't need you to hit opponents. So, yeah. Fun stuff. Now, moving past them, there was a creature type that kind of stood out, particularly because it has a lot of evasion, and that's dragons. So while I did not go full dragons, I did put a hefty or healthy amount into this deck. Some of the ones I would like to talk about are Leyline Tyrant, which is 2 red for a 4/4 dragon with flying. You don't lose unspent red mana as steps and phases end, and when it dies, you can pay any amount of red, and when you do, it does that much damage to any target. So again, getting to hold red mana seems pretty good. Next, we have the Skyline Despot, which is 5 red for a 5/5 dragon with flying. When it enters, you become the Monarch. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you're the Monarch, create a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying. Next, we have the Goldspan Dragon. 3 red for a 4/4 dragon with flying and haste. Whenever Goldspan Dragon attacks or becomes a target of a spell, you create a treasure token. Treasures you control have tap, sacrifice this artifact, add 2 mana of any one color. Next, we have the Vengeful Ancestor. 2 red for a 3/4 spirit dragon with flying. Whenever the creature enters or attacks, you goad target creature, and whenever a goaded creature attacks, it deals 1 damage to its controller. Next up, we have the Tyrant's Familiar. 5 red for a 5/5 dragon with flying and haste, and it has Lieutenant. As long as you control your commander, Tyrant's Familiar gets +2/+2 and has whenever Tyrant's Familiar attacks, it deals 7 damage to target creature defending player controls. Next up, we have the Warmonger Hellkite. 4 red for a 5/5 dragon with flying. All creatures attack each combat if able, and for 1 in a red, attacking creatures get +1/+0 until end of turn. And to round out the dragons I want to talk about, we have Hellkite Charger, which is 4 red for a 5/5 dragon with flying haste, and whenever it attacks, you can pay 5 red. If you do, untap all attacking creatures, and after this phase, there's an additional combat phase. Which kind of leads me into the next section of I would like to attack, and I would like to attack multiple times per turn. So after the Hellkite Charger, we have Morag, Fury of Akum, which is 4 red for a 6/6 Minotaur Warrior. Each creature you control gets +1/+0 for each time it is attacked this turn. And then it has Landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, if it's your main phase, there's an additional combat phase after this phase. At the beginning of this combat, untap all creatures you control. So there's an important note to put here with people running Morag. Attack before you play your land. So the way his ability works, if you play the land and then move to combat for the first time that turn, you don't get another chance to untap, because it untaps them during that next combat. So even if you get 2 combats, unless your creatures have vigilance, you will not get a second combat that you can attack with. So just a quick note there. Next up, we have Karlach, Fury of Avernus. 4 in a red for a 5/4 Tiefling Barbarian. Whenever you attack, if it's the first combat phase of your turn, untap all attacking creatures. They gain first strike until end of turn. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. She has 2 as a background, but we're not doing that. And so the way things work with, if you have Karlach and Morag, you would move to your first combat, attack, Karlach would trigger, untap everything, then you attack, then in your second main phase you play a land, Morag will untap everything, give you another combat. You just need to make sure you're sequencing things correctly. But sometimes we don't have access to the creatures, so I've got a couple of bonus attack things. No, I don't have the full suite of them, but the couple I do have are Overpowering Attack, which is 3 red for a sorcery, but it has free running for 2 in red. Untap all creatures you control that attack this turn. If it's your main phase, there's an additional combat phase after this phase, followed by an additional main phase. And finally for this section, Full Throttle, which I love the name, but it's 4 red for a sorcery. After this main phase, there are 2 additional combat phases. At the beginning of each combat this turn, untap all creatures that attack this turn. Yeah. So, anyways, that is the dragons / I want to attack many turns stuff. Next is just like generically good red creatures. And first up we have Raphael the Ninja Destroyer. 2 red for a 4/4 mutant ninja turtle. Must be blocked if able, and he has an range ability that adds that much red, and until end of turn you don't lose mana as steps and phases end. So he pairs nicely with the dragon that saves mana. Next we have Inferno Titan. It's Inferno Titan. 4 red for a 6/6 giant. For red, it gets +1/+0 to end a turn. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, it deals 3 damage, divided as you choose among 1, 2, or 3 target creatures and or players. Next up we have Urabrask the Hidden. 3 red for a 4/4 Phyrexian Praetor. Creatures you control have haste, and creatures your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. I know he's historically the worst of that cycle of Praetors, but he does his job and he does it well. Next up we have Frenzied Settlebrute. 4 and red for a 5/4 Orc Warrior with haste. All creatures can attack your opponents and planeswalkers your opponents control as though those creatures had haste. So you could use this politically, but mostly it's there to give your creatures the ability to attack your opponents when they enter. Next up we have Hill Rider. 2 red for a 3/3 Devil with haste, and whenever a creature you control attacks, it deals 1 damage to defending player. Next up we have Kazul, Tyrant of the Cliffs. 3 red for a 5/4 Ogre Warrior, and whenever a creature an opponent controls attacks, if you're the defending player, create a 3/3 red ogre creature token unless that creature's controller pays 3. And finally, rounding out the creatures, we have Slash, the Reptile Rampager, which is 3 red for a 7/5 mutant berserker turtle. It has Alliance, which is whenever another creature you control enters, it deals 2 damage to each opponent. And whenever Slash attacks, create a 2/2 red mutant creature token. So he also might have been in contention for the commander of the deck, but he kind of wants to lean more token spam than I'm doing here. I do have some, but it's not like a main point of what I'm trying to do. Yeah, but after that, I have just a few support cards I want to go through. Starting with an oldie but a goodie, the Hammer of Purphoros. 1 red for a legendary enchantment artifact. Creatures you control have haste. And then it has an ability that I don't think I've ever seen used. 2 and a red, tap, sack a land, create a 3/3 colorless Golem enchantment artifact creature token. Next up we have the Frontier Warmonger. 3 and a red for a 4/4 human warrior. Whenever 1 or more creatures attack one of your opponents or planeswalkers they control, those creatures gain menace until end of turn. I remember when the first version of this came out and menace wasn't a thing yet. Next up we have the Fire Crystal. 2 red for a legendary artifact. Red spells cost 1 less to cast. Creatures you control have haste. And you can pay 4 red and tap it to create a token that's a copy of target creature you control. Sacrifice at the beginning of the next end step. Next up, we have War Effort, which is 3 and a red for an enchantment. Creature you control get +1/+0, and whenever you attack, create a 1/1 red warrior creature token that's tapped and attacking. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. And to round out, we have Valakut, the Molten Pinnacle, which is land. It enters the battlefield tapped. And whenever a mountain enters the battlefield under your control, if you control at least 5 other mountains, you may have Valakut deal 3 damage to any creature or player. And it taps to add red. Yeah, there. It's good to be back and have the ability to talk for 20 minutes again. I do still occasionally have to cough and relieve some pressure from my lungs, but it's good to get back to it. And that said, I think that's where I'm gonna call it for today. So thank you, and bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. All of my links can be found in my link tree in the description below. I would like to thank Ian Foss and Cody Mulvey of the band The Crypt for allowing me to use music for my opening and ending, along with Nate and Erica Jacobs for making my original logo. And I would also like to thank Christina McNichol for creating my new logo. And I'll see you next time.